Moments of inspiration mixed with time to network, IBJ Media Events has you covered. From industry deep dives to awards celebrating Indiana's top leaders, see what's coming up and reserve your seat at ibj.com/RSVP.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Monday, March 9th, 2026. I'm Alex Brown. St. Joseph County Council President Dan Schetzel says Microsoft plans to break ground on its data center campus in Granger next month. Schetzel said today the campus will include 6 buildings and employ about 300 people. Bill Shalial, Director of Economic Development for the county, told Inside Indiana Business that while a specific investment figure has not been announced, it is likely to exceed $1 billion. Schetzel added that Microsoft is not seeking any tax abatements for the project. South Bend has been named one of 24 winners of the Bloomberg Philanthropies 2025-26 Mayors Challenge, earning $1 million to transform how the city delivers essential services through a proactive, artificial intelligence-based approach to its 311 system. Mayor James Mueller.
311 is kind of the virtual city front desk where residents can call with the issues that they need addressed in the city. Instead of sitting and waiting to hear what the issues may arise, there was a thought that, is there a way in which we can get on top of certain issues and prevent crises from happening in the first place?
The city is partnering on the effort with the University of Notre Dame. United Way of Central Indiana has awarded $1.16 million in grants to 28 nonprofits outside of its accredited partner network. The funding comes from 2 grant programs aimed at addressing basic needs and improving long-term family stability. You can view the list of recipients at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise at ibj.com to learn more.
The inaugural IndyCar race on the streets of Washington, D.C. will see drivers blazing past some of the country's most prominent landmarks later this summer. IIB's Aubriana Herron has more.
IndyCar officials on Monday unveiled the racetrack design and layout for the Freedom 250 Grand Prix of Washington, D.C., which is being held to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The race will take place August 22nd through the 23rd and will be the first auto race ever held on the National Mall in the streets of the nation's capital. Plans for the race were first announced in January through an executive order signed by President Donald Trump. The street circuit features a 7-turn, 1.7-mile layout that will see IndyCar drivers racing along Pennsylvania Avenue, framed by the Washington Monument and the U.S. Capitol, and driving by the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, the National Gallery of Art, and the National Archives. Officials said build-out of the street circuit will begin later this summer. The roads near the U.S. Capitol and around the National Mall are expected to remain open throughout the majority of the build-out. IndyCar said the weekend's activities will be free and open to the public. Officials will also display the official Freedom 250 Grand Prix IndyCar at various locations throughout the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia region over the next several months to promote the race. Aubriana Herron, Inside Indiana Business Radio.
The Grant County Economic Growth Council has announced that Executive Director Chuck Binkard will retire on July 1st. His departure will conclude the 2-year commitment he made to lead the organization. He had served on the council's board for more than a decade before assuming the role of executive director in 2024. The council said Binkard will support the transition to new leadership and assist the board in its executive search. A timeline for naming his successor was not provided. As conflict continues in the Middle East with the war in Iran, innovation in Indiana is playing a growing role in the U.S. defense sector. Indiana's defense industry contributes an estimated $6 billion to the state's economy. Trevor Foudy is an executive vice president with Bloomington-based Applied Research Institute.
You can look at what's happened here in the opening week. F-35 has become the dominant jet that our military uses. A lot of those components made right here in Indianapolis by Rolls-Royce. What excites me more is when you look at the use of drones, which is not just a shift in paradigm and technology, but also a shift in how the department is acquiring new technologies, which I think could have a lot of benefit for Indiana.
Foudy said there is a lot of room for growth in the defense sector in Indiana, particularly after being named one of several drone test sites by the federal government. Outgoing Indiana State Fair Commission Executive Director Cindy Hoy is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio On Demand. Stay ahead with Inside Indiana Business Radio On Demand, your go-to source for the latest business news across the Hoosier State. Join hosts Gary Dick and Alex Brown every weekday morning and afternoon for concise updates on Indiana's top business stories. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast app or listen at ibjpodcasts.com.
Want to give your team a real edge? The IBJ Group Plan delivers unlimited access to every story, every report, every video from IBJ and Inside Indiana Business for your whole team. Cover some or all of your employees with one simple payment. The more you add, the more you save. It's smart, it's flexible, and it saves you up to 30% off the standard rate. Already have IBJ subscribers in your office? Group up and save big. Learn more and get started now at ibj.com/group-plan.